Well, I should start by saying first and foremost that I'm hugely honoured to have been asked to become a patron of the association. I was kind of in correspondence in some of the early days, and I think at the time a sort of chord was struck, in particular with Robin, and we kind of shared an attitude with regards to craft, and Patricia's mentioned that. And I find myself giving quite a lot of talks about Victorian and Edwardian farms, the popularity of the series. And there are kind of two elements to my talks which really often resonate with an audience, and I've tended to sort of play up those two things. One of them is the importance of crafts, and obviously keeping one handle on heritage crafts, knowing about them, promoting them, and hopefully having more and more of them in the future. So I usually talk about that in great detail, and here I kind of realised that actually I'd only be preaching to the converted. One of the other aspects that's often goes down well with some of the audiences I talk to is that I tend to talk about individual skills and techniques and some of the little tricks of the trade that I've learned from the experts. And again, I'm acutely aware that the skills base before me far outweighs any of my own experiences. So I'm really left, in many ways, with the opportunity to talk about insights. So what I'm going to do today is talk about my own insights, the insights that I have gained from rural crafts. I'm hugely lucky that I've been able to work with or spend, in some instances, just a day with some fantastic craftspeople. And I've learned an enormous amount about rural craft skills. And of course I've learned about their application in a very real setting, if you like, and the role that they would have played in a kind of wider rural economy. So I'm hoping to give some of my own personal insights. I have to say, with regards to the actual programmes themselves, there are often times when I watch the final edit, if you like, and I don't get to see the programmes before they go out, and I sit down, all anxiously, sort of biting my nails, and there are times when I jump up and I shout at the television because I realise that in some instances we haven't done the craft justice. Now that may be a reflection of the programme makers who don't share my intrinsic interest in the crafts. I'm not sure, but there are times when I think we've got it wrong and we haven't played up the proper context of those crafts. And I think the other important things to say is that we don't always get it right on a programme. I think that's a very important thing to say. One of the I've just touched the button there, but that's all right. That's fine. That moves me on to my first craft. Actually, if I come out here, can people still hear me? Is that okay? Just because so I can see what I'm pointing at. Yes, archaeology is where I started, and really I'll sort of give you, if you like, a sort of chronology to how I ultimately found myself dressed as an Edwardian ploughing fields. It all started in the world of archaeology. I studied at the Institute of Archaeology here at UCL in London. I did a BA and an MA there. The MA was in Themes, Thoughts and Theory in World Archaeology, so not at all very vocational, it has to be said. My background really had always been being outside. I grew up between two farms in Sussex, two very old farms actually in Sussex, and I was always, always passionate about being outside and doing things with my hands. And my father before me was very much a handyman, builder. No job too small, as he used to say. And I learned a lot from him. And it was interesting, actually, the remarks about Robinson Crusoe earlier. We used to joke with my father that he was the Robinson Crusoe of suburbia, because he wouldn't leave a skip alone. If there was a new skip in town, he'd know exactly where it was and what was in it. And one of our family gifts that now I think everyone in the family has got is a garden bench made from a pallet. So that was kind of my background, and archaeology is history. I'm passionate about history, I'm passionate about being outside, so what better thing to do? So I used to do all sorts of commercial archaeology. We've got here, this is up in Shoreham, a place called Rope Tackle. where there's a series of medieval pits within which you put all of the medieval midden and waste from the local town. They'd be dug out as well, taken to the fields and spread on the fields and then refilled again. But absolutely fantastic insight into the sort of medieval everyday life. Here I am looking rather pleased with myself in a Roman well, a Roman villa site in Brighton. In this photograph here, this is a team of us that excavated the site in Crawley, where they were building an Asda supermarket and car park. And that was, in many ways, one of the factors as to why I decided that I needed to look elsewhere. I was a little bit tired with the construction industry and the constraints that actually places on working conditions, as well as our heritage. And just to point out there, the individual there you may recognise at the back. Little did he know what he was going to get himself involved in. So I ended up applying for a job with a production company, and the role in the production company that I applied for was one very much to do with maintaining a farm whilst they filmed a sort of, it's difficult to know what to call it, it's a historical living experience documentary, I don't know really, but they were making a series called Tales from the Green Valley for the BBC, and they needed what they called outdoor historians to help run this farm, work in the background as they filmed a couple of people presenting the programme. So I applied for this, and one of my key interests at the time, having said, you know, I was big into being outside, I love working outside. What we find survives in the archaeological record is very rarely the organic processes. You know, obviously we find pottery, we find coins, and we find decorated stoneware. These things, by their very nature, survive. But I was very interested in the things that didn't survive. And I wanted to counter, if you like, the bias in archaeology of what we do find. And I felt the way to go about doing that was to actually try and experience a year working on a farm in those conditions, and just spending the time tending cattle, hedging, making wattle and daub walls, all of the crafts associated with living off the land. It's very, you know, very important to me, I felt, to do that.